Ave Maris Stella.
Hello and welcome back to Vatican II in a Year. I am your host, Father Matthew Schneider. I am a priest of the Legionaries of Christ and a theology professor. This is a podcast on the Star Christ Protection Network at sqpn.com. Today we're on day 302. We are covering Gaudium et Spes 11, and this paragraph is on how the Church analyzes the world. If you want to follow along, we have a reading plan and more details at sqpn.com/Vatican and frmatthewlc.com/Vatican. Yesterday we spoke about how the world leads many to ask questions where Jesus is the answer. Today we're going to start part 1, which is called The Church and Man's Calling. And we'll cover the entire section before they have specific chapters in part 1. This section is rather short, so today will be on the short end. It's under 250 words. Our average is like 430, 450 range, so it's a little shorter. And the theme of today is we Catholics need to decipher the signs of the times, such as values and questions asked of us. Paragraph 11 has 3 subparagraphs. A is on the people of God filled with the Holy Spirit decipher signs. B, we will examine the values most prevalent today, meaning we'll examine them in this document. C, people are waiting for the Church to say how it views man, and these answers will be clear. So this is setting up what we're going to talk about for the next following chapter. This is kind of a setup chapter, not a ton of direct content. So let's get straight into A, on the people of God filled with the Holy Spirit decipher signs. Let's read it. A, the people of God believes that it is led by the Lord's Spirit who fills the earth. Motivated by this faith, it labors to decipher the authentic signs of God's presence and purpose in the happenings, needs, and desires in which this people has a part along with the other men of our age. For faith throws a new light on everything, manifests God's design for man's total vocation, and thus directs the mind to solutions that are fully human. This whole part of Gaudium et Spes begins by reminding us that we are the people of God and we are led by the Holy Spirit. We need to accept the Holy Spirit's guidance. The Holy Spirit is the gentle guidance of the soul, the one who will guide us, but we need to accept it. And then the rest of this paragraph, or subparagraph, is talking about how we need to decipher real signs of God. Because God so often works via secondary causes. He doesn't directly give a vision to people. He doesn't directly push people without any control. No, he usually uses secondary causes. Most priests I know, they were invited by someone who was a priest. They saw a priest who was an example of how they want to live. Things like that. Those are secondary causes. So secondary cause is not bad. It's actually a good way for God to work. And when we use secondary causes, faith becomes the decoder. Faith is what allows us to decode these signs as they need for the Church, as they need for God's people. Faith also shows us the way. And we can see the signs of God in various happenings in the world, in how the world has various happenings. So moving on to 11b, we will examine the values most prevalent today. Let's read it. This council, first of all, wishes to assess, in this light, those values which are most highly prized today, and to relate them to the divine source. Insofar as they stem from endowments conferred by God on man, these values are exceedingly good. Yet they are often wrenched from their rightful function by the taint in man's heart, and hence stand in need of purification. There are a whole bunch of values that are prevalent today. Some are good, some are bad. Some are kind of mixed. There is a value to individualism, but individualism, at least as practiced in North America, Canada, and the U.S., has in many ways gone too far and neglected the idea of the family. We, as Catholics, need to investigate these signs. Now, the Council Fathers of Vatican II in the 1960s investigated the signs then, and we have to look at their investigation. both to see the signs that are still here and what those point to, and also to say, hey, how do we apply this to the signs today? Many of these good signs go back to our nature, and they're valuable due to that. We have our nature, we're made in the image and likeness of God, and that is what grants us our dignity. And we often need to purify even good values. For example, human rights as a principle, as an idea, are generally good values, the idea of human rights. We have a right to life, a right to liberty, a right to private property, a right to privacy, good rights. But, unfortunately today, the good human rights are often caught up with human rights to an abortion or human rights to sexual liberation or things like that, which do not match what the church teaches. Obviously, the church truly liberates us sexually, but when we talk about sexual liberation in that sense, it often means a libertine view of sexuality where any kind of sexual activity is okay. Now we get to the last subparagraph, 11c. And it has some questions that says people are waiting for the church to say how it views man, and these answers will be clear. This document will give answers on how the church views man. So let's read it. 11c. What does the church think of man? What needs to be recommended for the upbuilding of contemporary society? What is the ultimate significance of human activity throughout the world? People are waiting for an answer to these questions. From the answers, it will be increasingly clear that the people of God and the human race in whose midst it lives render service to each other. Thus, the mission of the church will show its religious, by that very fact, its supremely human character. So this subparagraph begins with these questions that people ask. What does the church think of man? How does it work with society? What is its significance? People today, in 1960s today, and people today in 1920s today, care why the church's perspective. Why do people care about the church's perspective? Because the church is the guardian of truth. And people know this implicitly. Look at how they attack the church when there's a debate about abortion or gay rights or things like that. But they don't attack random Protestants. Why is that? It's because they recognize the church is that principle, is that authority. And we have that basis. We need to show answers. Showing these can be a form of evangelization. We can evangelize people through showing these answers. What does the church think of man? Because people see, oh wow, the church has this deep view of man, and then they might consider Catholicism. And then the final sentence reminds of this, noting that Catholicism is the most human religion. By its religious character, it will show its truly human character. The church raises up mankind to the heights, to what man is called to be. So, thank you for listening to this episode of Vatican II in a Year. This is a listener-supported podcast, and you can donate to help StarCross produce it and other great podcasts at sqpn.com/give. You can give one-time monthly or join the StarCross Patreon. Tomorrow, we'll continue on the next two paragraphs in Gaudium et Spes. That's paragraphs 12 and 13 on things on earth should be related to man. Please join us then to learn more about Vatican II, which can be a blueprint for the Catholic Church. If you want more information on the podcast, such as playlists for individual documents or a reading plan, you can go to sqpn.com/Vatican, frmatthewlc.com/Vatican, or Vatican SQPN on Facebook or X. There is also an SQPN Discord server at sqpn.com/Discord, and on there you will find a channel for Vatican II in a Year.